We've talked a lot about food stamp cuts on the show before, and unfortunately, between the sequester and the expiration of the stimulus provision, the program has been devastated. But today, I'm going to show you with 3 facts, and more specifically 2 charts and 1 fact, why the cuts were a horrible idea and they should be reversed immediately. So first of all, look at the first chart here. For everybody listening on the radio, I'll explain as we go along. What this shows is the rate of food insecurity between 1998 and 2012. And what you see is that it's hovering between 10 and 12% between 1998 and 2007. And then the second that we have the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession, it shoots all the way up to about 15%, between 14 and 15%. Now, you have to understand that might not sound like a lot in raw terms, but that means millions more people in the U.S. are food insecure. So as a result of this, we need more food stamps. It's not the fault of those people. They didn't become more lazy overnight. They're not moochers. They're not parasites. And also bear in mind what we have here is a system where a lot of people work full-time jobs and they simply don't make enough money to survive. Those are the people who work full-time at McDonald's or Wendy's or Walmart. So unfortunately, if those companies are not going to pay them a living wage, which they should, then they're going to have to make up the difference somewhere. So in steps the government in the form of food stamps and Medicaid and things like that. But now they've cut the food stamps even though those food insecurity levels are incredibly high. So it's the worst time ever to cut food stamps, but they're doing it anyway. In fact, they've tried to do it at least 3 or 4 times. Now take a look at the next chart here. What this shows is that 87% of the people who take food stamps are living in a household with at least 1 child, 1 disabled individual, or 1 elderly individual. So again, what this speaks to is the fact that the talking point about how people on food stamps are moochers or parasites, it is flat out incorrect. What we have here is households that need the food in order to take care of somebody who's old, somebody who's disabled, or a couple of children. And by the way, there's a good question for the conservative Christians. Who would Jesus take food away from? Old people, children, or the disabled? I believe the answer is none of the above. And finally, what is the fraud rate in food stamps overall? 1%. So again, for people who are so concerned about waste and abuse in the government, well, you can rest assured that food stamps is actually the lowest of all government programs in terms of abuse. By the way, that 1% number is according to the USDA. They say SNAP benefit trafficking, which is technically how they refer to fraud in that program, has, quote, remained relatively steady at approximately 1 cent on the dollar. And the program, quote, continues to have one of the lowest fraud rates for federal programs. So in other words, it's a horrible idea to cut the program. They should refund it fully right now.